everyone, Emilia here. Welcome back to my channel. It has been a very long time since I've posted a video. I've just been extremely busy with school and internals and IAs and everything in between, and we've been in lockdown and it's just been extremely hectic, and I honestly just haven't had the time to do things that aren't school related. But I'm back, hopefully. Yeah, so let's get to the video. My first tip is to plan long term using a calendar. I like to draw out a calendar usually for a few weeks. I do it on a whiteboard like this, if you can sort of see. I've got 6 weeks on there, so that's just what fits on there. It depends what you prefer, to be honest. I mark the important dates and deadlines and events that I have, and that just gives me a visual indication of how close I am to an event, so I can sort of make that mind visual connection of what I need to be actually prioritizing in my work. At the end of each day, I like to cross through my day. If you can sort of see it on there, I just do like a cross through my day. I just sort of find it satisfying, I don't know. It's not the most necessary thing, but I like to see how far I've come, and yeah. For the days I'm not at school, I like to put a little red triangle in the corner so I know I have more time to study that day, as sad as that sounds. But basically my weekends in the IB have turned into how much more study can I fit into my free time. And the weekends are sort of this time where I just catch up on all of my work and sit down and really get into the business of studying. Not the business, get into the groove of studying. The key thing with doing a long-term calendar is it just lays out everything visually, and visually being able to make a connection between the events you have and how long you have until those events allows you to acknowledge those deadlines, and it sort of stores it in your subconscious and helps you get on top of things. The second thing is splitting projects up into manageable chunks. Oh, what a mouthful. The first thing I do when I have a massive project such as an IA or an extended essay, or one of those really important things in the IB or whatever degree level you're doing, I write a plan. A structured plan, and you can usually research the structures online. That's what I usually do. For my IAs, I research other IAs that have gotten full marks, and then I sort of look at all those different structures and make my own structure based on what people have done, just to make sure I include everything I need. It really just sets you off on the right track for when you do work later, because you sort of know everything you're going to be doing. And having a plan really helps you visually. Again, visual things are a really important sort of thing. And visually this helps you be able to see your structure and how you're going to be laying out your work so you don't go off task or on a tangent. I know that I'm very good at this, and when I started researching my extended essay, I was sort of just doing all this random research for no reason. I didn't really know what I was researching. I was just researching random things to do with olive oil. It had nothing to do with the actual research question I was doing. But once I had my essay plan written up, I knew everything I was going to be doing. I knew exactly what I needed to research, how I was going to support each of my points, and I just found writing a structure super duper helpful in keeping me on the right track. So I would 10 out of 10 recommend doing that. Having this plan then allows you to split your work into smaller chunks, which is the next part of this sort of tip. It allows you to work on smaller sections as you go along. So instead of setting aside loads of time at the end of a week to do your project, you can work on it in small chunks throughout the week, because you have this structure and you know exactly what you should be doing and you won't get off track. It makes sure that you don't waste your time doing stuff that you don't need to be doing when it comes to that project. The third thing is how to split your time up between multiple projects and how to prioritize which projects you should be doing at one time. Once you have your snazzy long-term calendar, you can begin to divvy up the sections that you've written in your plan and write mini deadlines on your calendar. And even though these aren't real deadlines, it sort of gives you a guideline of how far through your project you should be at certain points, to make sure you're not going off track and falling behind in your work, just to make sure you get the deadline in time. Because you have a plan, it should be much easier to set yourself goals, because you can see all those sections in clear little bullet points, and you can easily say, I want this section done by the end of this week, or I want this section done in this many days. It ensures you have everything done by the time you get to your deadline. I feel that working on a project bit by bit over time is so much better, at least for me, than working on it all at once, because if you work on it over time, you can sort of see small little mistakes and you can go back and work on them. Whereas if you work on it all at once, you might not see all the mistakes that you have at that time. When you hand it in, it might not be your best work. That's sort of an advantage of working on a project over a longer period of time and organising your time to do that. If you have multiple projects going on at once, you can split them up side by side and work on them simultaneously. Obviously not like one like that. You can work on one for a small period of time and then the other for a small period of time, sort of taking snippets from each one and working on each one progressively and like going back and forth between them. It just means that if you get bored of one or you're sort of sick of writing on one subject, you can sort of move to the other. You'll have more motivation that way, whereas I find that if I spend too long on one thing, I sort of lose my groove when it comes to the writing and I sort of go like downhill in terms of the quality. I would recommend just like bouncing off different projects. And that also leads to the next thing, which is managing multiple projects and prioritizing your time between each one. Prioritizing your work is super important, particularly when you have lots of deadlines or things going on at once. But prioritizing your work can make sure you don't spend time on something that's not that imminent or coming up in the close future. It allows you to work on the things that you should really be working on that you do need to get done. I find that I do sometimes procrastinate by doing stuff that doesn't really need to be done. I'm sure a lot of people find that. So it's really just finding a balance between knowing what you should be doing and knowing what you could be doing but shouldn't be doing, if that makes sense. So if you have a project like in EE due in 6 months, that probably wouldn't be on the top of my mind to do if I have an IA that's due in 1 week, if you get what I mean. So it's just using your common sense when you're prioritizing work. And by looking at your calendar, you can see where all your deadlines are. That should give you a visual indicator of what you should be working on at any point in time and what you should be prioritizing. I sort of base my prioritization on my calendar and what I have coming up. I think that just makes the most sense. If I've got something in the imminent future, I'm going to be working on that more than something that's due not so close in the future, you know? And obviously this prioritization takes a while to figure out. Everyone's going to have a different way of approaching their work and it might not work the first few times. So figuring out a way, just remember, may take time. And obviously everyone's going to have a different approach. Even though I might have this approach, someone else might find it easier to do something different. I do think that once you do learn to prioritize your work and manage multiple projects at once, it's a very effective tool in spending your time efficiently. The fourth thing is to-do lists. Like I've said, it seems like a super trivial, silly thing to be like a pro at, but I think it can be super helpful when it comes to organizing long-term projects or just projects in general or just everything you've got to do during a busy school week. When you write your to-do lists, you can just write everything out that you've got to do for a day or for a week. And when you have a large task, such as writing an essay, I always break it down into smaller tasks on my to-do list. For example, if you have an essay due for a subject like English or a humanities subject, I don't just write English essay on my to-do list. Too big of a task for me, personally. I like to split it up into smaller ones that I can tick off as I go. I would break an English essay to-do list thing heading into reading and analysing the text, planning my essay structure, and finally writing the essay. And I feel like breaking big tasks into smaller tasks sort of gives you mini accomplishments and goals to work towards, instead of having this one big daunting box to tick on your to-do list that might take quite a while to tick. Or if you have a project, it's going to take a while to tick that off. Whereas if you have smaller tasks, you can sort of tick them off as you go, and you can see your progress through that task, which I also think visually gives you a really good cue of where you're going and how you should be using your time. And I think that positive reinforcement of ticking things off a to-do list is such a great feeling. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it is a good feeling. Once you have your to-do list with your mini sub to-do lists, I like to number it. And that just helps me to prioritize what I should be doing, and that sort of links to the thing I mentioned before about prioritizing your work and knowing which project you should be doing at one time. Once you have your massive exhaustive list of to-do lists, you sort of look at it and you're like, where do I start? Prioritizing and numbering your list by what you should be doing first just really allows you to not freak out when you look at it and think about, where am I going to start? I usually number my lists by doing a couple of easy things at the beginning of the day, reading through a book or doing some math questions, and then I'll do something harder like writing essays, which sort of take a lot more brain power than answering maths questions. Sort of just building your way up through the day. It sort of depends on how your brain works. So obviously I'm a bit of a morning person. I like to get the harder tasks done in the morning, whereas someone who's an evening person may prefer to do the harder tasks in the evening when they have more motivation. It all depends on what your mind is telling you, how you feel about what you should be doing. So just change that and change that prioritization and numbering of your to-do lists according to what you feel is best for you. And I find that just building up to a difficult task with a couple easier ones sort of just gets you in the zone of how you should be studying. It just builds a good habit for doing those harder tasks. I would not want to wake up in the morning and just go straight into writing an English essay. I would want to sort of ease into it a bit. But the thing is, don't do all the easy tasks right in the morning. You might just exhaust yourself. You can leave a few easy tasks for yourself after the harder tasks to sort of recover from the harder tasks. So sort of what your day would look like is a couple easy tasks, gets harder and harder and harder. It sort of peaks around your peak motivation, and then it sort of goes down and it gets easier again. I mean, that's what works for me. Or someone who might work better at night may find that they sort of do some easy ones, work up to their hard task, and just go to sleep. Or it would go like that, wouldn't it? But yeah, whatever works for you. But that's sort of my general tip. Numbering your to-do lists. And numbering your to-do list also keeps you on track, and just make sure you don't leave all the hard things until last. Well, I know I do that a lot because I just want to put it off as long as possible. But really just get it done, get it over and done with, yeah. Fifth, and finally, using a journal or diary to keep track of all the things I've mentioned in this video. So having a journal or diary is sort of compulsory. I mean, I wouldn't say compulsory, but it's extremely helpful if you want to organize your time properly. I mean, using an online calendar may suit your needs better, but I like to have a physical version just because I like writing stuff and I'm sort of old-fashioned in that way. For example, here is my layout for next week at school. There's not too much going on. I have my English internal IO practice and my talk presentation, and then a CAS project, and then my KMIA is also due, but I've already handed that in, so it's all good. And I'll also be doing my physics IA. So I mean, it is quite a busy week, but because I've organised my time, I feel confident that I'm not going to be too stressed out about all the things that are going to be due. Having a journal or some sort of place you can keep all your to-do lists and calendars and plans ensures that you are able to refer to it at any point in time. And a wall planner would also work. I mean, I've got this wall planner. I sort of use this in conjunction with my diary, and I also use a whiteboard to do my to-do lists, or I could do it digitally, but then I don't know, I like the physical stuff. You can okay. As I said before, making a visual connection between all the things you've got to do and your mind just really ensures that you're getting all your work done. I don't know, I just feel that being able to visually see everything laid out is super duper helpful, whereas if I just kept it in my head, I probably wouldn't be that organised. I'd probably forget some stuff. If you have a great memory, go for it, but I'm extremely forgetful and I'll probably forget all my homework, so I like to write it all down. So to summarise this video, first First of all, use a calendar to do your long-term projects. Split your projects up into manageable chunks. Prioritize your time efficiently. Work on your projects bit by bit. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Make to-do lists and number them. Last but not least, keep a journal or diary or some sort of calendar thing to keep track of everything that you've got to do. I hope you guys have found this video helpful. I hope it made sense in some way. If I was getting my mind to like verbally say what it was thinking, I hope that came across as if it made sense. I don't even think that made sense. But if you have any ideas for future videos, feel free to comment down below. The link for my website is also in the comment, it's in the description box. I don't know. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any feedback, comment down below as well. And if you haven't already and you'd like to see more videos like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I will be posting more videos. I've sort of just been on a mini break, and thank you so much for watching. Remember that wherever you are in the world, whatever the time of day, remember to stay safe and be kind, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!